this recent event that a lot of people spoke about all over the world, which is the opening ceremony to the Olympic Games in Paris. But what was very interesting about the opening ceremony and the woke approach that they deliberately took with this portrayal of the Last Supper. They initially denied that it was a portrayal of the Last Supper, and then some of the actors who were involved actually said, no, this is, the one lady declared herself to be the Olympic Jesus, the lady in the middle of this picture that they were creating. But the viewers would know about this. But what strikes me about this event is the significant backlash to what happened in Paris. And that is measurable in many ways. One is me personally, to a large extent, after having seen that, lost interest in watching the rest of the Olympic Games, at the expense of the athletes, of course. But also, you can see that in the type of reaction we had on social media. I remember the next day, the French Prime Minister made a very neutral tweet saying that it's great to be in Paris and the Olympic Games are fantastic. And there was something like 40,000 replies to his tweet, and there was not, I scrolled for several minutes and I could not see a single positive reply. Every single one of them, that I saw at least, was negative about the way in which Paris framed this opening ceremony. And what was also significant is how, what you might call other civilizations responded. People in Africa, people in the East, in China, the Muslim world, who have said that maybe this is going too far. What's your view on this?
Yeah, Ernst, there's a lot to be said about this. In the first instance, it is quite telling that this is happening in Paris, which was also the major setting of the beginning of the French Revolution back in 1789 and afterwards. When one speaks about the French Revolution, normally what is in the center of the discussion, which is actually wrong, is just the coup that has taken place, that took place, and the eventual assassination, the eventual killing of the king and the queen and so on. Yeah. But that should not be standing in the center of the French Revolution. What also happened in the French Revolution is that they actually rejected the Christian calendar. Okay? And the revolutionaries established a new calendar. Now, this in itself is not so important, but what it symbolizes is of the utmost importance. And that is that it rejected, it rejected completely and dealt with the utmost contempt the Christian religion, the Christian heritage, and proclaimed to be able to start something completely anew. So the French Revolution, in that particular very important sense, was a rejection of Western civilization. In that sense, it was an extremely leftist act. Now, what has happened now, more than 240 years afterwards, of 200 and, let me not do the calculation, was something very similar, but actually more extreme. Because this did not only, these actions, the opening ceremony, did not only reject Western civilization, it rejected civilization as such. It dealt with complete contempt, the entire idea of civilization. Why am I making this assertion? The reason for that is, you might be dealing with Western civilization, Chinese civilization, Japanese civilization, Hindu civilization, Islam, and so on and so forth. You might be dealing with an emerging African civilization. But all civilizations, like all communities, smaller communities within civilizations, set particular standards. They distinguish between what is good and what is bad, what is ugly and what is beautiful. What is to be pursued and what is to be going against at. Everyone. So there are certain standards, certain norms. Civilization is not something ever to be associated with what is normless, without norms at all. It distinguishes, and let me also say it discriminates, because where after it has distinguished, it also passes judgment and say, well, we distinguish not only on a level as if everything is the same. We say, as I've said, one thing is good and the other thing is bad. Mm-hmm. So the moment you reject that, and the moment you proclaim that, well, anything goes, and more or less all things are morally and otherwise on an equal footing, from that moment on, you have jilted civilization. You have rejected civilization. Mm. And I think in that sense, the opening ceremony with all the ideological baggage that it carried with it is a rejection, once again, like the extremes of the French Revolution of Western civilization. But I think the best explanation that one can come up with is that the reason why Muslims, Chinese people and so on, why they also took offense of this is because this was a rejection of all civilizations, of civilizational form of living. I think that's the reason.
Yeah.